The second I stepped into that dining room, I knew I shouldn't have come. Hands still on the brass door handle, I stood there like a fool. 12 place settings at a big round table under a crystal chandelier. White linen napkins folded like swans, champagne already poured. The laughter bouncing off the marble walls stopped for half a second when they saw me, then picked right back up like I wasn't even there. Dana looked over and smiled like nothing was wrong. That fake little wave, that tight smile. "Dale," she said, getting up with her wine glass in hand. "You made it." I looked around. There was no empty chair, not even one pulled slightly away. Everyone was already mid-toast, or halfway through their salad. Her mom caught my eye, then turned to whisper something to Alicia. Alicia laughed, loud enough for me to hear. Her brother nodded, didn't say a word. Her dad didn't even glance up from his filet. I leaned in close to Dana and whispered, "There's no chair for me." She put a hand on my back like she was guiding me in from the cold. "Must be a mix-up?" Everyone heard it. Her voice wasn't quiet. No one said a thing. I didn't move. I scanned the table again just to be sure. The names were printed on little white cards. Alicia, Brad, Mom, Dad. Even her cousin Kelly, who lived in Phoenix and never showed up to anything. She had a seat. Not me. I felt heat crawl up the back of my neck. I'd worn a jacket, a real one, picked up dry cleaning, shaved, paid for the Uber so we'd look like we came together. But we didn't. Dana just smiled and sipped her wine, like I hadn't spoken. Then she sat down and crossed her legs under the table. "You should grab a drink," she said over her shoulder. No one made room, not even an inch. They just kept chatting about the golf course, the caterer, retirement plans. Like I was a waiter who'd wandered too close. I stayed frozen in the doorway another few seconds, letting it sink in. Then I turned and walked straight to the bar. Quick note, before we get deeper into this story, tell us which city or country you're watching from. I sat at the bar just far enough out of sight that I could pretend I wasn't listening, but I heard every damn word. They toasted Dana's dad like he was royalty. Waitstaff kept floating by with trays of shrimp and mini sliders, but none of them stopped near me. One look at my face and they moved along. Probably figured I didn't belong. Honestly, neither did I. Dana's laugh cut through the noise. Bright, fake, too loud. She was leaning in toward Alicia, whispering something, holding her wine by the stem like she was born doing it. I watched her raise her glass again, eyes shining like this was the perfect night. Like I wasn't 30 feet away drinking warm bourbon and staring into a wall of glass. 6 years of this. 6 years of her saying, "They'll come around." Her mom was just traditional. Her dad was slow to trust. Her brother Brad was going through stuff. Always some excuse. But I remembered every time. The birthday barbecue they forgot to tell me was rescheduled. The wine country trip that somehow didn't include me, even though I'd helped pay for it. The Christmas dinner where they didn't have space at the table, so I ate leftovers with the dog out back. Dana always blamed it on the planner, the weather, the mix-up with the emails. And I bought it at first. I worked my ass off. Built my handyman business from a Craigslist ad and a borrowed ladder. I put Dana through grad school, took night jobs fixing gutters and rewiring basements so she didn't have to work. I thought once they saw how hard I worked, they'd respect me. Instead, they still acted like I was the guy who fixed the gate, not the guy who married their daughter. I stayed at the bar until they started handing out party favors. I saw Dana lean in for a photo with her parents, arms around both of them, like some damn Hallmark ad. I got up and left. Back at the hotel, I walked into the suite alone. Room smelled like her perfume, and whatever room spray the cleaning crew used. Too clean, too fake. I loosened my tie, dropped into the chair by the window, and opened my laptop. I'd been tracking this stuff for months. Dana didn't know. A spreadsheet buried in a folder labeled taxes. Transfers from our joint account to her family's consulting business. Random Venmo charges labeled reunion supplies or project planning. Thousands. Stupid amounts that didn't match any job I'd ever billed. Brad's name kept popping up. His crypto startup had bled through our savings like a leak in a busted pipe. Dana always called it temporary. Said Brad just needed a cushion until the next investor came through. Problem was, I never saw anything come back. One invoice stood out. 10 grand billed to my company for branding and media services. I never approved it. The email trail showed Dana forwarding it straight to payment. 2 days later, Brad posted an Instagram pic from a rooftop in Vegas. I clicked over to the family loans tab. Interest-free, undocumented, over 18 months. And the dates lined up a little too perfectly with the weird gaps in our budget. The unexpected charges Dana brushed off. Flights that never showed on our travel calendar. Spa visits in cities she said she never visited. My stomach turned. I'd been working 18-hour days, running 2 crews, maxing out credit lines to keep us afloat. And Dana's side of the family was treating our account like an ATM. That night, she stayed with them for drinks. Texted me around 11 saying, "Be back late. Don't wait up." I didn't answer. I copied the entire spreadsheet to a flash drive and dropped it in my safe. Then I grabbed a beer from the minibar, popped the cap off on the edge of the sink, and started a new tab at the bottom of the sheet. I called it Lies That Cost Me. I stared at the spreadsheet until the numbers blurred. My hand tapped the desk. Too much energy running through me to sit still. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't drink enough to dull it. So I dug deeper. I reached for the flash drive I'd pulled out of Dana's glove box 3 weeks ago, wrapped in a gas receipt. I'd told myself I wasn't ready to open it, that maybe it was just receipts or photos or something harmless. But after tonight, I couldn't put it off. I slid it into the laptop and waited. One folder popped up. No label, just blank gray. I clicked. Hundreds of files. PDFs, screenshots, drafts. The first thing that caught my eye was a Word document. Draft Divorce Dec 21. My chest tightened as I opened it. The words blurred at first, but I forced myself to read. Petition for dissolution. Asset division. Alimony. They weren't half-baked notes, they were lawyer-prepared. And my name was listed like I was just a stranger being processed out of her life. I opened another file, messages, screenshots, text threads between Dana and Craig Linton. The name hit me like a hammer. Craig, her ex. The one she swore was ancient history. The one she said she barely remembered. The text stretched back 18 months. Compliments, late-night check-ins, plans. My pulse thudded in my ears as I scrolled faster. Then the photos hit. Pictures from a lake cabin I didn't recognize. Dana in cut-off shorts, smiling like I hadn't seen her smile in years. Craig's arm draped around her in one. In another, she was leaning against him on a dock, beer in hand, looking like home. And I realized it. She never smiled that way with me. My stomach twisted, but I kept going. Then I found it. A medical PDF, ultrasound, dated last month, tiny shape, measurements typed in the corner, notes from a clinic I'd never heard of. I couldn't breathe. My hand clenched around the mouse so hard it hurt. I wanted to throw the laptop through the window, but instead I clicked open another folder, like I needed to drown myself in all of it. Emails, dozens of them. Not just between Dana and Craig, between Dana's mom and Craig too. Subject lines like family future and next steps. Her mom wrote to him like he was already her son-in-law. She called him the right fit. She called me a phase. That dinner tonight, the one where they left me standing like an idiot at the door, it snapped into focus. It wasn't some careless mistake. It wasn't a missing chair. It was a celebration, a send-off. Not for Dana's dad, for me. They'd been lining this up, piece by piece, smiling in my face while they built a future without me. My hands shook as I grabbed the divorce draft again, scrolling down to the sections about property division. Dana wanted half my business. Half of what I built with sweat and busted knuckles. And tucked in the footnotes was Craig's name, listed as an advisor in her financial disclosures. That smug bastard wasn't just back. He was already slotted in. My replacement. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the screen rattled. For a second I thought I'd broken it. I sat back, fists pressed against my forehead, trying to push the pressure out of my skull. The hotel suite was dead quiet except for the hum of the mini fridge. Outside, faint car horns bled through the window. I thought about Dana at the dinner table, sipping wine, playing perfect daughter. Her hand on my back telling me, must be a mix-up. And the look on her mom's face when she whispered to Alicia. It all made sense now. There was never a seat for me. I closed the laptop and didn't wait. I picked up my phone and called Jake. Pull every invoice we did for the Reynolds family going back 3 years, I said before he could get a word in. All unpaid. I want copies. PDFs, scans, everything. Don't edit anything. There was a pause, then Jake's voice, low and steady. You sure, boss? Positive. Don't touch the originals. Just pull copies. I hung up and dialed Jordan. Jordan answered on the second ring. "You okay?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I need you lucid. Pull the company credit card reports. All transfers flagged as family or loan. Match them to invoices. I'll be over in an hour." "All right." He didn't sound surprised. He sounded like a guy who'd been waiting for permission to start a war. The shop smelled like sawdust and oil when I walked back in. Jake met me at the side door with a stack of envelopes and a thumb drive. He'd already printed invoices from jobs I didn't even remember billing them for. "Look at this," he said, tapping a page. "You never cut these checks." The invoices were in my company's name, stamped paid with signatures I didn't recognize. Dates matched holidays, birthdays, the same gaps in my bank account I'd circled on that spreadsheet. Nothing lined up with the work my crews had done. Lines read, cabin rental coordination, event setup, consultation, stuff I never charged for. I called Dana, but let it ring through to voicemail. I didn't want to hear her voice. Not yet. Jordan showed up with his laptop and a folder of bank reconciliations. We sat at the long workbench under the fluorescent lights and started tearing the accounts apart like it was an engine that needed to be rebuilt from the crank-up. "Company cards maxed out," he said, not looking up. "There's cash withdrawals coded as supplies. Wire transfers to a shell account in Montana labeled vendor payout. These are clean. They routed through business to business, then to personal." "How much?" I asked. "About $4.2 million over the last 3 years, if you include the family loans and those client trips. But the weird part is the pattern. Same recipients, same dates before big family events. Someone's been laundering money through your books to cover their debts." My knuckles went white on the table. "Pull the receipts for last July," I said. "The Montana reunion. I paid for that, right? Rental cabins, security, catering. I don't want anyone else on those invoices." Jake dug through a drawer and came up with a stack of contracts from last summer. He handed them to me. The rental contracts were in my name, deposits wired from my account. The caterer's bill was on my company card. But then there were side charges. Event coordination fee sent to a marketing firm none of us had used. The check numbers matched transfers into Brad's account. I called the rental company and told them I was canceling any pending work for the Reynolds guest house. "We need to postpone," I said flatly. "Do not release materials." I could hear the disappointment on the other end, but that was on purpose. Next, I called the supplier for the high-end fixtures I'd ordered for the guest house. $8,000 worth of faucets, sconces, and a custom shower head I'd picked out myself. "Change the shipping address," I told the rep. "Send them to the Detroit Housing Build, 61st and Elm. Bill them to me, but deliver to the charity." There was a short silence. "We can do that, but there'll be restocking fees." "Waive them," I said. "I don't want these going to someone who'll use them to pretend they paid for things." Jordan pulled up the email trail between Dana's mom and whoever had set up the fake vendor accounts. "They coordinated this through in-laws and friends pretending to be vendors," he said. "They made it look like payments for services. You're tied to it legally if you don't act." "Not anymore," I said. We rerouted the shipment, changed the billing entries, and filed stop payments where we could. I called the contractor we'd hired for the guest house demo and told him not to show. "We're postponing," I lied. He swore under his breath but agreed. At noon, I walked into Dana's parents' favorite hardware store and bought supplies for the Detroit build: extra plywood, weatherproof paint, a couple of toolboxes. The owner knew me. He shook his head but didn't ask questions. I loaded the truck myself and drove the boxes east. By the time I got back, Jake had begun emailing clients about schedule shifts. We stopped taking calls that could be traced to the Reynolds family. I changed passwords, shut down shared access to job files, and moved client contacts off the company phone onto my personal burner. I stood in the yard while the crew loaded my truck with donated fixtures and tools. Sun beat down on the metal roof. The guys joked about my mood, but they did their jobs. I felt the first clean sort of relief. Not victory, but something close. I'd cut the taps. Before I left, I sent one text to Dana. "Don't touch my crew or my clients. No begging, no plead. Just a line that made her think." Then I drove out of town with the truck bed full and my chest tight, thinking I'd rather be the man who fixed other people's homes than the man who paid to be replaced. I pulled into a used warehouse near the interstate, unloaded the fixtures, and handed the keys to the site foreman for the Detroit build. My hand hovered over the clipboard before I signed the delivery ticket. Then I wrote my name and the date, and I handed it over. I didn't feel like celebrating. I felt like I'd finally started doing what I should have done 3 years ago. I climbed back into the truck and drove toward home. I parked the truck behind the workshop and barely had time to kill the engine before I saw her pull up. Black Escalade, big sunglasses, 2-inch heels on concrete. Dana's mom stepped out like she was walking into brunch, not a fallout zone. She didn't even knock, just pushed the door open and marched in like she owned the place. "This is all very juvenile, Dale," she said, setting her designer bag on my workbench. "Canceling deliveries, reassigning materials, really?" I didn't offer her a chair. I reached under the counter, pulled out the manila envelope I'd prepped the night before, and handed it to her. She frowned, peeled it open, and pulled out the printout. Ultrasound. Dana's name on it. Craig's last name listed under father. Her face drained so fast I thought she might pass out. She blinked, mouth open just slightly, trying to piece together something to say. "I didn't know about this," she muttered. "You sure about that?" I asked. She looked back down at the page like it might rewrite itself if she stared hard enough. "Craig's just helping Dana with property deals," she said quickly. "It's complicated." "No," I said. "It's simple. You planned a dinner to celebrate my replacement, and you left me standing in the doorway like a hired driver." Her chin lifted like she was still trying to find her footing. "You need to be careful how you handle this. We have legal contacts." "Dana's going to be fine." I leaned forward, both hands on the bench. "You want to talk legal? Let's do it. You've got 6 years' worth of assets with my name on the paperwork. The siding on your lake house? I installed it, paid the crew out of my own account. The down payment? My check. The kitchen remodel? You remember that? Because I've got the receipts and the time-stamped job logs to match." She flinched just a little. I watched her eyes shift, doing the math. "You think you're going to scare me into silence?" I said. "I've worked 15-hour days to build something real, and all you people have done is leech off it, Dana included." Her mouth opened, but I cut her off. "Don't say family is family. Don't say let's be civil. You stood in that dining room and watched me be humiliated, and you smiled." She grabbed her bag and stood there a second too long. "You'll regret doing this the hard way." I opened the shop door and held it wide. "You've got 30 days to clear anything tied to my business. After that, I come with lawyers, real ones, the kind that get paid." She didn't speak, just walked out, heels cracking across the gravel like gunshots. I shut the door hard behind her. Then I turned the sign to closed and went back to work. The text came in that night. "Can we talk?" Just the two of us. I didn't answer, but I showed up. Not for her, for closure. She picked one of those cute cafes with outdoor seating and too many plants. The kind of place with string lights and acoustic covers of pop songs. Middle of the lunch crowd. Public like she thought that would keep things calm. I walked in with the folder under my arm. She was already at the table, hair curled, makeup perfect, fake smile locked and loaded. Like this was just a bump in the road. "Hey," she said, almost soft. "Thanks for meeting." I sat, didn't say a word, pulled the folder out, dropped it on the table, and slid it across. She looked down like it was some minor inconvenience. "What's this?" "Every receipt from the last 3 years," I said. "Every trip, every favor, every cent that went out of my business and into your family's pockets." Her jaw tightened. She didn't open the folder, just stared at it like maybe it'd vanish. "I know you're angry," she said, hands folded, "but I think we can make this work." I leaned back in my chair. "You think I'm here for marriage counseling?" She blinked, still playing calm. "I'm saying we've both made mistakes, but this whole meltdown, Dale..." "Craig," I said. She froze. Just like that, the air shifted. Her eyes darted, but she didn't answer right away. She reached for her coffee, and the diamond on her ring clinked against the cup. "You don't know what you're talking about," she finally said. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the voicemail, hit play. Her mother's voice filled the space between us, clear, steady, like she was reading off a damn schedule. "Craig and Dana have agreed to hold off announcing until the papers are finalized. Once Dale's out of the picture, we'll loop in the Linton side. Keep the money quiet until then." Dana's lips parted. No words came out. People around us kept eating their sandwiches, sipping their drinks. No one noticed the bomb that just dropped at our table. I lowered the volume and slid the phone next to her coffee. "You want to keep lying?" She didn't touch the phone, just sat there, breath shallow, eyes locked on the table, like it might crack open and swallow her. You were screwing him while I was paying for your family's vacations, I said. I was running jobs at night while you were up at some lake cabin taking pictures like you were already remarried. It wasn't like that, she whispered. Don't insult me. She finally looked up, eyes glossy, voice shaking just a little. You have nothing that proves anything illegal. I'm not coming after you legally, I said. I don't care about revenge. I care about my crew, my clients, my company. She scoffed, leaning back in her seat. You really think you'll come out clean in this? I already am, I said. Here's how this ends. You walk with what's yours. Clothes, car, whatever your name's on. I keep the company. You stay the hell away from my business, my crew, and every contact I've built since the day you met me. She didn't answer, just stared at the folder like it might explode. Or, I added, you can drag this out, and I'll go public. Every penny you move behind my back, every photo, every voice message, every invoice you helped your brother doctor. I'll let your investors know where the crypto seed money came from. I'll let the IRS know, too. She swallowed. I could see her mind running a mile a minute, but there was no way out. Her voice dropped low. So that's it? That's mercy, I said. You want war? I've got time. She nodded once, slow, no comeback, no snark. Just that small nod. I stood, left the folder on the table, walked out without looking back. 2 days later, I got the text. From Dana's dad, of all people. Let's meet. Just family. We need to come together and talk. Sure, now it's family. I showed up on time. Cleanest button-up I owned, tucked in, boots polished. I brought my folders and nothing else. They were all there, Dana, her parents, her brother Brad, Alicia. Even cousin Kelly flew in for the performance. They sat stiff around that massive dining table, same one I'd built them a custom bench for 2 summers back. The food was untouched, water glasses full, no wine this time. Dana's dad stood up like he was about to deliver a sermon. Look, tensions are high, he said, hands folded in front of him. But this family's been through tough seasons before. We need unity now, not finger-pointing. I dropped the first folder on the table with a thud. Let's start with unpaid invoices. I flipped it open and passed pages down the line like test results. Guest house prep, wedding tent rentals, equipment transport, catering reimbursements, all billed under my company, all marked paid. None actually were. Alicia blinked fast, flipped through hers like it had answers at the back. Dana stayed silent. I opened the next folder. Doctored expenses, fake vendor charges, personal trips marked as client outreach. I tossed out a color-coded chart showing the patterns. Same charges, same dates, same names. Brad leaned back and gave me a smirk. Okay. Maybe there was some overlap. Some wires got crossed. Could have just been a misunderstanding. I pulled out the receipts, wire transfers, full routing details, timestamps. From my business account to Brad's Shell LLC in Nevada. I dropped them in front of him. You misunderstand $4.2 million? The room went dead still. Someone's chair creaked. Dana's mom looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. I'm not suing, I said, standing up. I'm not dragging anyone into court or filing claims. Not yet. Dana's dad cleared his throat. Then what's this about? I stared him dead in the eye. It's about the faucet getting turned off. I'm walking. That means no more favors. No more fronting your projects. No more financing Brad's scams or Dana's real estate dreams. You figure out what happens when I stop picking up the tab. Brad scoffed. You think we need you? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Every face at that table said otherwise. I stacked the folders, tucked them under my arm, and turned toward the door. You had a good run, I said. Enjoy paying full price for things. I walked out without shaking a single hand. Behind me, the door flew open. Dale! Dana's voice cracked across the porch. She chased after me, heels snapping against the concrete. Mascara streaked, hair a mess. Nothing left of that polished little act from the cafe. I didn't mean for it to go like this, she said, catching up. I stopped at the bottom step, turned just enough to see her face. You meant for me to disappear quietly, I said. You didn't expect me to have receipts. She didn't deny it. I got in the truck and slammed the door before she could say another word. That night, I sat at the shop with Jake and the crew. We pushed the work tables aside, rolled out a box of pizza, and cracked open a cooler of cold ones. Old rock played from the Bluetooth speaker, something from a playlist we built years back on some overnight drywall job. "You all right, boss?" Jake asked, sliding me a beer. I took it. "Better than I've been in years," I said. Nobody pressed, and they just nodded and kept eating. That kind of silence meant something. It meant they knew, and they had my back. 2 weeks later, I stood in front of a row of blueprints the size of a kitchen table. Veterans Housing Project, full build-out, 22 units, 5 acres outside of Grand Rapids. Biggest contract of my life. Fully funded, union-backed, green-lit from the city. I ran my hand over the print and exhaled. That same week, Dana's name popped up on my phone. "Can we talk about next steps?" That Friday, my crew and I climbed to the rooftop of our latest finished build, a clean, modern duplex on the east side. Still smelled like fresh paint and sawdust. The sunset burned orange over the skyline. Jake handed me a beer, and we raised our cans in a half circle around the edge of the roof. "To clean starts," I said. "To close doors," he added. We drank. I looked around at my crew, guys who'd stayed up past midnight pouring concrete, guys who never once asked me to explain why I was angry or tired or burned out. For once, no one was asking me to prove I belonged. Would you have walked away or burned it all down? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.